Kia ora, it's Kathryn here from Help. It can be really helpful for survivors and to end sexual violence if people know more about it, but not everyone wants to know right now. So this is for you, just if you're interested. Recovering from the impacts of sexual violence can be helped or harmed by the actions and attitudes of the people around us. So what you do can make a difference. Today I'm going to respond to a question which was sent in last week. Why does it cut so deep? When I read this question, I immediately had a vision of me being here with lots of survivors who could tell you their stories, because everybody has a different experience. And maybe we can find some way to do that after lockdown. But in the meantime, at the end, I will add links to a couple of poems so you can hear from survivors. And today I'm going to offer you some of the reasons that we hear most often. But first up, there has been a dilemma for me in responding to this question. If you are a survivor or someone who knows someone who is a survivor, this might cause you some pain because it might take you back to your experience. Or if I don't speak about what really hurt you, you might feel misunderstood, probably again. Or if I do understand you and you feel understood, this can bring up pain because people may not have understood you in the past. If I was working with you directly, I would understand your sore spots, I would respect them, and I would do my best to step around them for as long as we needed to. But I can't do that in a video. And I am going to answer the question because somebody has asked me to. So please take care. Don't watch this if it's a bad day or if you don't need to. So why does it cut so deep? Well, there is the nature of the impacts of sexual violence, and then the ways that these wounds can get in the way of healing, because the human psyche is incredible. Just like our bodies, it has the same kind of drive to heal if it can. There are two key things about the impacts that I think it's important to understand. The first is a people thing. We're social beings, we live with and among others, we rely on others, and mostly we trust others not to hurt us, even if they're bigger and stronger. It is almost like a sacred covenant that we do not hurt each other. To sexually abuse or assault someone is to break that covenant, leaving the person with a deep distrust of other people. But you might say, well, we hurt each other all the time in all sorts of ways, so what makes this different? Well, there are a few layers to this, each of which can make the loss of trust deeper. Children are mostly abused by adults who have a role to protect and nurture them. If someone you depend on for survival like this does this to you, then how do you trust again? Nothing about this is an accident. It is harm which is deliberately caused. Inherent in sexual abuse is the dehumanization, the complete objectification of the victim. When a person is sexually abusing or assaulting another, that person does not matter at all to the perpetrator at the time. The victim is being used for the perpetrator to get some pleasure from their body. And the most intimate part of their body, a part that some children don't even know they have, a part that we treat as our most private, our most sacred, even though many of us don't even have a way to articulate that. Māori do. It is whare tangata and it's tapu. An added layer to this people thing is that sexual abuse and assault are such breaches of our social ways of being, of the very well-being of our society, that they give rise to shame. Now that shame should sit with the perpetrator, the person who caused the harm. But due to the ways that the perpetrator grooms the victim by telling them it's their fault, that they deserve it, and due to the existence of rape myth, which makes society blame the victim, along with the almost inevitable sense of self-blame which can follow sexual abuse or assault, deep shame often rests with the victim. So for the people part, we have a breach of the sacred covenant of safety and the involvement of our most intimate space, which can lead to a profound loss of trust, along with a deep layer of shame. Add to this the nervous system. Our nervous systems do not cope well with terror when that terror is prolonged or repeated. Terror can overwhelm our capacity to cope, leaving your brain not able to process the experience and lay down memory in the usual way. It can disable your capacity to speak about what happened and to think clearly about what to do about what happened. It can leave your nervous system on high alert so that you become anxious and startled about everything, including your own thoughts about what happened. It can also lead to a numbing of your emotions when they feel just too big to process. So this is a very hard way to live when you don't trust other people. So over time, people tend to withdraw, to isolate, to give their nervous systems as much calm time as possible. So what both of these things do, the people part and an overwhelmed nervous system, is to lead us to withdraw from others, to isolate. This gets compounded when others withdraw from us. They might feel awkward as they don't know what to say, or feel hurt when we don't respond to their first, second, or 20th overture of kindness because we no longer trust. But how do we heal trust and overwhelmed nervous systems? Well, we need other people. We learn to trust people again when other people not only don't hurt us, but attune to our pain, care about what we are feeling, what we need. This is also needed to heal an overwhelmed nervous system. Yes, time alone meditating or in nature can help to soothe, but fundamentally, your nervous system needs a whole lot of time feeling very safe. And as social beings, it can be best soothed by others attuning to your pain, caring about what you feel and what you need. And at some point, we need to be able to talk about it. Think about how we manage other traumas. Say you have a car accident on the way to work. You probably won't be very productive that morning because you spend most of your time telling everyone you meet about what happened. With every telling, your agitation reduces, leaving you more and more able to focus on your work. You might still need to have a cry that night with your partner or a close friend, as we are soothed most by those who are most attuned to and care about our feelings. But what about when it's not a car accident but a sexual assault? The victim survivor might be terrified, so not able to tell as they have no access to the words. A deep sense of shame means that they probably wouldn't tell even if they could. And somewhere inside, they know that some people would blame them for what happened. And their brain just doesn't seem to work, so they can't figure a way through. What should they do? Maybe it was partly their fault because you can put anything in there. And if it was, well, that might be good because then they wouldn't need to tell anyone. Don't get me wrong. Hunkering down, embracing numbness, and focusing on work so you think about the assault as little as possible can be a great strategy to start with. It means you can stabilise your work, your life. It means he hasn't won. But at some point, to heal, a person needs to unfreeze their feelings, to experience care and love from others. When to unfreeze is totally up to them, but it's more likely to happen when they know that they are in an environment where people are quietly supportive and kind. So what can we all do? First up, notice other people, care about their feelings, ask what they need, but not all the time. Understand how hard it can be to have been sexually abused or assaulted. Find other ways to show that someone matters if you don't know what to say or they seem to continually rebuff you. Stop rape myth in its tracks. Every time you challenge someone who is blaming victims, it is likely that there will be a victim who hears you and heals just a little bit. Support change in our justice system. With a 1% conviction rate for sex crimes, as a society, we are repeatedly invalidating those who have been hurt, replicating the dynamics of sexual violence. As members of this society, we each need to withdraw our acceptance of this and advocate for change, for justice for victims. So thanks so much for listening. If you have any questions or feedback, you can email me. Ngā mihi.